Humana Hospital in Pembroke Pines says their emergency room is closed to visitors as of right now. Keep that in mind. Probably a good time for us to go to Skywatch 610 traffic again and see if we can get an update. They've been airborne much of the day. Let's get the latest from WIOD's Molly Dugan. Molly?
This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. You're listening to live coverage from WIOD as Hurricane Andrew approaches Miami on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater.
Finally, entertaining AM radio, not the same old talk. Check back in with us for Rick and Suds, weekdays from 2 to 6, here on News Talk
Center. And I'm trying to figure out which phone line's off the hook. But we will have those updates, including the latest from Governor Childs, who just made an announcement a few minutes ago from Tallahassee. You're listening to continuous coverage of Hurricane Andrew on News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. We do have some late closings and updates and information we want to pass along, including the City of North Miami, which says all non-essential employees do not have to report to work tomorrow until further notice. Teletronics pacing system closed tomorrow. Blue Cross Blue Shield, all Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach offices closed tomorrow. Dadeland Bank, all branches closed tomorrow. We mentioned Humana Hospital in Pembroke Pines, emergency room, closed to the public now. Eastern Financial Credit Union closed on Monday. The Stimson Company, all offices will be closed on Monday. And Shepard's and Lesker's attorney-at-law offices closed on Monday. They are in Fort Lauderdale, Henry.
And the boaters, be advised, the drawbridges in the Keys at Jewfish Creek and Snake Creek have been locked down. They won't open again until well after the hurricane. But Jewfish Creek and Snake Creek locked down the drawbridges there.
All right. Beth, do we have somebody ready for us on hold, or what are we doing here? Oh.
Yes, Chuck, I do believe I am on the line with Dave Steigelman. He is on Governor's Island in the Bahamas. And, Dave, you are on the air live now with us. What can you tell me at this point about the hurricane?
Right now, winds are exceeding at least 120 miles an hour. We have an anemometer here, and it only goes up to 120.
Winds are exceeding 100 miles an hour?
Correct.
Well, tell me, can you see, do you have a vantage point? What is happening in terms of damage at this point?
Hey, right now there's high winds again. The seas are about 10 to 12 feet. Where I'm located is North Palmetto Point, Eleuthera, Bahamas. Right now I have no idea where the eye is since I haven't been able to get that information, but winds are exceeding 120 miles an hour at this location.
Dave, can you tell us approximately when this wind increase took place?
An hour and a half to 2 hours ago. At 5 o'clock this morning, cars were still out at the 5 o'clock this morning, and then winds started increasing.
Apparently, we have lost contact with Dave Steigelman, Governor's Island in the Bahamas, but what you heard him say were that winds in excess of 120 miles an hour now whipping through that general area in the past hour or so.
My goodness, I'm not surprised that we lost that line.
Absolutely, and clearly it's a sign of what is headed our way.
I'm surprised we had that line at all, Chuck, with winds like that, and the phone service on those islands is not the greatest, but that was amazing. They are getting real hurricane winds.
As I understand it, cell phones will hold up as long as they... cellular phones will hold up so long as the pod is still standing, I take it, but right. Even they could be overloaded. We want to take a brief break here and check in with Robert Pankow, who is at the Dade Emergency Center, possibly with an update. Robert?
Chuck, we were just handed a bulletin here. There is a new hurricane hotline phone number to handle calls. As you've heard throughout the day here, the calls have just been coming in here in record numbers. A lot of people can't get through, so they've now set up a second phone line. There are two numbers now. The first is 596-8735. That's the number we've been broadcasting. Now there's also a second number, 595-6661. Again, that's 595-6661. These phone lines are staffed with bilingual individuals who can assist residents with their hurricane preparedness. Also, I had a question. I don't know if people yet have addressed an issue that a lot of newcomers to the area may not be aware of. Quite often, immediately after a hurricane, they often spin off tornadoes and waterspouts. And a lot of people think that once the hurricane is passed, it is safe to go outside. I did hear Henry say, don't go out in bare feet and let kids walk through puddles, which is absolutely outstanding advice. At the same time, they have to be aware that just because the hurricane has passed over, or even sometimes people go out in the eye of hurricane to see what's going on. That is not a very good idea, principally because of some of these tornadoes that come out of absolutely nowhere.
That's absolutely right.
We did have this problem back several years ago when I was covering Hurricane Gilbert, which, as you may recall, came in roughly at Mexico City. It was almost 12 hours later that a series of 6 tornadoes touched down in San Antonio, Texas, which is hundreds of miles away. It knocked down part of the Air Force Base. It also flattened homes in several neighborhoods. So even after this weather, the immediate storm seems to pass, people still need to be aware that there are still going to be problems with waterspouts in addition to all the other damage we might sustain. Back to you, Chuck.
And that's right. And Robert, we're going to depend upon you to give us an all clear from where your vantage point, because that's where it will come from. But not until we get an all clear should anyone go out.
Yeah, as Henry pointed out earlier, the hurricane can be accompanied by twisters and waterspouts and followed by twisters and waterspouts. So there will be a calm afterwards that you might think means that it's over. And it's not. And you're either going to get the backdraft of the eye or you're going to get the fallout. That is to say, the twisters and waterspouts. So it's going to be dangerous for some time.
One thing I don't know if we mentioned recently, but that is that the strongest part of the hurricane is north of the eye. The weakest part is south of the eye. And so you know where the eye comes, what you're going to get. When you hear where the eye's coming, whether you're going to get the strongest part of the hurricane or the weakest part. I don't want the weakest part. That's bad enough.
It is 3:50 at News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. It's time for us to do another alert here. We interrupt this program to activate the Florida Emergency Broadcast System. This is not a test.
Executive order declaring a state of emergency because a very deadly storm, Hurricane Andrew, is bearing down on Florida. This is one of the most dangerous hurricanes in Florida's history. At this time, it poses a severe threat to human life as well as property in Dade, Monroe, and Broward counties. Evacuation orders are in effect in the Keys and in Dade and Broward coastal areas. It's imperative that they be promptly obeyed. Time is running short, and I urge everyone in the affected areas to follow all evacuation orders and any other directions provided by local and state emergency personnel. I strongly urge everyone to act prudently and promptly to protect you and your families. Thank you.
That is Governor Lawton Chiles announcing a state of emergency in the state of Florida. And this concludes operations under the Florida Emergency Broadcast System. All broadcast stations may now resume normal broadcast operations. 3:52 at WIOD. Our continuous coverage of Hurricane Andrew is continuing here. Again, Robert Pankow reported moments ago. Dade County residents seeking additional info about the hurricane preparedness situation have 2 phone numbers to call now. Here are the official hurricane hotline numbers for Dade County residents seeking information. 596-8735 and 595-6661. That second number is a new number, 595-6661. We have bilingual individuals assisting residents with their hurricane preparation, so keep that in mind. 2 phone numbers for hurricane hotline information, 596-8735 and 595-6661. Henry.
This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. You're listening to live coverage from WIOD as Hurricane Andrew approaches Miami on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater.
Hurricane Center, and as we just heard a moment ago ourselves, this storm is hitting the Bahamas with winds in excess of 100 miles an hour. And Jennifer, what can you tell us from your vantage point at the Hurricane Center?
The forecasters are watching the storm. They are preparing the 5 o'clock advisory, which we should get in about 60 minutes, Beth. Not determined yet whether they're going to upgrade Andrew to a Category 5 storm. In order to do that, he has to have maximum sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. I asked Dr. Bob Sheets here, though, has this storm surprised you? And he said, as far as strength, there's no doubt about it. Andrew has been a surprise.
In terms of its strength, yes. We did not anticipate that it would be Category 4, Category 5. We were forecasting a minimal 3, just getting strong 2, and we were saying let's prepare for a Category 3 hurricane, but we did not expect the 4 or 5. And frankly, we just don't have the ability to make those kind of predictions.
Again, the storms are very unpredictable. They can change in hours, in minutes. And so it is unpredictable, but they never expected Andrew to gain the strength that he has, become a Category 4 hurricane, and possibly a Category 5. Beth?
Jennifer, we had mentioned before the fact that high tide occurs at 5 a.m., and of course, Andrew, it has been said, could be reaching landfall at around that same time or sometime in that approximate area. What do the forecasters at the Hurricane Center have to say about that possibility?
No doubt that's not good news. A high tide will mean more flooding. We will be feeling Andrew's wrath apparently from 6 a.m. until noon hour, and he will be at his strongest then, according to the forecasters here. And that being the high tide in those early morning hours, you can expect to see a lot of flooding.
Jennifer, how would you describe the mood there now? Obviously, these people are hard at work. They have a very serious job to do. But as this storm approaches and, in fact, is ready to bear down on us, have you sensed a change in mood? Are people really buckling down?
Yes, there's no doubt about it. They're very serious men and women here working at the National Hurricane Center. They've got a job to do. It's a mission. They're here to report, to disseminate information, to save lives, and to say it over and over again. If you haven't evacuated and you're told you have to, get out. And if you haven't prepared your home and gotten the supplies you need, do it now. These people are very serious about the work they're doing, and they've got tunnel vision. They want to watch and make sure that they can give us the best information possible to deal with Hurricane Andrew.
Okay, and again, we are expecting another full update on the course of the hurricane at 5 o'clock.
That's right.
All right, Jennifer Rehm from the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables. Obviously, the situation very tense there as these experts track the path of Hurricane Andrew, Henry.
Beth, thank you very much. It's 3:56. We understand we may have Neil Frank, longtime South Florida meteorologist. He's been in Houston for a long time now at KHOU television. Neil, do you hear us? It's Chuck Myer in Miami.
Right, go ahead.
Yes, Neil, we're on the air live right now here at WIOD. Thanks for joining me.
Okay.
Do you wish you were here right now, Neil?
Not at all.
Not at all.
Oh.
How are you monitoring this situation from Houston, and given your background, what do you think we're in for?
Well, of course, we see all the weather information that they're seeing there at the National Hurricane Center, and you have a very, very serious problem. If this storm continues to move on the track that it is on right now, you're talking about a storm like 1926 or 1928 if the center would go a little north and go in Palm Beach, or if it moved a little south and stayed around the Keys, you're talking about 1960. It doesn't make any difference whichever way. This is a very, very serious threat, and it's my understanding that the word is out, and if the people respond, then at least as far as loss of life, they ought to get by okay.
I know you only have a minute or so with us, but I wanted to know to get your impressions of the characteristics of this storm. It not only came up quickly, but it's been coming right at us, almost not moving around much except a straightforward path, and it's just building steam. It looks like a head-on collision.
Well, that's true, and it may deviate a little to the right, a little to the left, but right now, all of South Florida, Southeast Florida, needs to be prepared for this. And, let me remind you that in terms of building, the 1935 storm, when it left the Bahamas, that's Andros Island, it was a tropical storm, and yet some 36 hours later, it went through the Florida Keys as the strongest hurricane that's ever hit the United States. So, historically, hurricanes have strengthened a good bit as they come through the Bahamas. and everybody ought to be taking the action they need to take.
All right, Neil, thanks for spending some time with us.
Okay.
Neil Frank, meteorologist at KHOU Television in Houston, Texas. Well, he goes back a long time around here.
Neil and I sat in that hurricane center a lot of times, waiting for something to come that never did, and he always said it was going to come. I wonder if he still has a crew cut.
Well, we're going to have crew cuts this time.
I mean, let's find the important things. I wanted to find out if Neil had a crew cut.
This is News Talk Radio 610 WIOD, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches. This is Chuck Myer, Henry Barrow, Beth Adams, Andy Kalb, Elaine Ettore, Robert Pankow, Jennifer Rehm. The entire WIOD news staff is ensconced here at the station and around town at the emergency centers, bringing you up-to-the-minute coverage of Hurricane Andrew. And we'll take a break here and be back in the minutes ahead with more continuous coverage on WIOD.
Or do whatever. You can't take your pets with you. And we can't stress this enough that you're going to have to find a place to put those pets. So if you are in the Anna Maria, Bradenton area, the Chateau Boarding Kennel will be open tonight from 6:30 until 9. We'll have reports of other places where you can drop off your pets. And you might want to just pick up the phone and call your local veterinarian. We're coming up on 4 o'clock here on 970 WFLA. This is Operation Stormwatch underway. Jay Marvin with you. We'll keep you apprised of what's going on. The latest coordinates. Keep it here on 970 WFLA. This is the only place you need to know, the only place you need to be to know.
You're listening to live coverage from WIOD as Hurricane Andrew approaches Miami on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater.
Join Keith Connors along with Ken Stevens and Sharon Taylor weekday mornings from 5 till 9 for Tampa Bay's Morning News, right here on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN.
Hi, this is Mike Albert. With Andrew getting closer, we'll keep you up to date with live reports and hurricane coverage on your official hurricane information station, News Talk Radio 620 WSUN.
At the WIOD News Center, Chuck Myer with Beth Adams, Henry Barrow, and Andy Kalb in the News Center. We have Robert Pankow at the Emergency Center in Dade, Elaine Ettore at the Emergency Center in Broward. Jennifer Rehm has just gone out to top off the gas tank, but she's is down there at the National Hurricane Center. Bob Soper scurrying back to town from his vacation, which he has cut loose, or cut short, I should say. And WIOD's Catherine Lister also en route to the Hurricane Center for complete updates. Beth?
Well, Chuck, I just got off the phone with another motorist, and we were talking about the Turnpike earlier. Apparently, the Turnpike northbound is not a very good route if you are headed out of South Florida. This gentleman was calling from Fort Pierce, headed southbound. He said for the last 100 miles, somewhere south of Orlando, the Turnpike northbound was bumper to bumper, literally, and moving at 20 miles an hour, if that much. So if you are northbound, the Turnpike is not going to get you anywhere very quickly. I believe we're going to go now to the Dade County Emergency Center. Robert Pankow standing by. Robert?
Beth, we just received an update here in reference to some of the shelters filling up. The American Red Cross has reported that the evacuation center at North Miami Beach High is now full. They're saying good alternatives in the area are Highland Oaks Middle School, that address 2325 Northwest 203rd Street. Again, that's 2325 Northwest 203rd Street. And also another alternative, North Miami Middle School. Their address, 13,105 Northeast 7th Avenue. Again, that's 13,105 Northeast 7th Avenue. Also, Hialeah Miami Lakes High, which is at 7977 West 12th Avenue in Hialeah, and the Greek Orthodox Church at 12,250 Northwest 2nd Avenue are also full. Persons who would normally seek shelter at either of these two locations should choose another site. Individuals seeking additional updated hurricane preparedness information in reference to the shelters that are open should call one of two hurricane hotlines now working. That first number is is 596-8735 or 595-6661. Back to you, Beth.
All right, thank you very much, Robert Pankow at the Dade County Emergency Preparedness Center, where, of course, they are getting ready for the worst like everybody else.
Beth, there will be an update from that center in a half hour, as there has been throughout the afternoon, with the exception of this past hour, because of the governor's state of emergency, which he declared here in Florida today. Keep in mind, we can't say it enough, that 500,000 Dade County residents have been ordered to evacuate their homes, and another 400,000 plus Broward residents have been ordered to get out before it gets too late today.
Chuck, I'm still getting calls from people wondering when is a good time to leave, and of course we've been saying all day the sooner the better, and as time passes, time is frankly running out. Now is the time to leave.
We're going to start getting higher winds late this afternoon, which will, combined with rain, could create the kind of conditions that are not going to be great for evacuating. So the longer you put it off, the more risk you take, although the more you can get done prior to leaving. And let's face it, a lot of people will put things off to the last second or won't be able to do everything in time. It's a tough call. It's not an easy call, but it's probably something we should, urge everybody to get taken care of. My rule of thumb would be try to do it before dark, because things are just going to get a little gummy after that.
And it probably will get dark a little bit earlier because of this weather that's moving in. I would say by 7 o'clock your chance is past, because it's going to be dark, it's going to be rainy, and it's going to be windy at that time. Eleuthera getting 125-mile-an-hour winds. Eleuthera is not that far away, folks. Many of you have gone down there. Many of you take your boats down there. And you know it doesn't take you that long to get to Eleuthera. Nassau, that's not far away.
And as Beth's caller had a moment ago, problems northbound on the Turnpike. Anything north of Oakland Park Boulevard's been tough today, although that has been one of the few spots where there is real slowdowns in what has otherwise been a pretty orderly evacuation. We can probably update it right now. Molly Dugan watching Skywatch 610 traffic, bringing us the very latest with Skyborne traffic, and let's check it out with Molly.
That is right, Chuck. Things are not quite as bad as we thought they might be. Still a lot of traffic coming out of the Keys.
This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. Scattered showers will continue into this evening. Lows in the low 70s. For Monday, expect conditions to be cloudy, winds gusty with showers and thunderstorms. Hurricane Andrew has now grown stronger than Hugo was and is heading straight for South Florida. Hurricane warnings are now in effect for all of the southern Florida peninsula from Vero Beach, around the Keys, and north to near Fort Myers. The Tampa Bay area remains under a hurricane watch. Latest coordinates: latitude 25.5 degrees north, longitude 75.8 degrees west, about 280 miles east of Miami. Maximum sustained winds near 150 miles an hour, still moving westerly at 16 miles an hour. It's expected to hit southern Florida in the pre-dawn hours Monday. Stay tuned for further developments here at your official hurricane information station. I'm Mike Albert in the 620 WSUN Weather Center.
For 420,000. So as you can imagine, this is a very small number and of great concern to county officials. Of course, there's no way of telling how many people went to stay with friends or whatever, but the fact that there's only 3,000 people in these shelters is of concern. Another problem Osterholt mentions is the 3 or 4 hospitals that are east of I-95.
We are not in a situation to say when someone is able to be medically able to be moved or not. So we've left that call up to the physicians. We have worked to deal with the hospital that says you'll move everybody that you can move, get them out of the facility. If you think you can't move this person for medical reasons, again, that's not our call, move them up. So there's horizontal evacuation for everybody you can move and vertical evacuation for those you can't.
Also, Chuck, I want to point out that I just spoke with Mayor Jim Noggle of Fort Lauderdale. He's very concerned, too. He says there are people who are still on the beach, and that has him concerned. Apparently, he does not think that people are taking this seriously enough up here. And again, only 3,000 people in the shelters, so that may be some indication of a complacency here.
Yeah, we've been talking about just when's the best time. I mean, if you've been ordered to evacuate, you got to get out sooner or later. The roadways are pretty fairly jammed up, and we're told that you almost cannot get a hotel room in the Orlando, Ocala, or Gainesville area. So a lot of people have left town, but we got 420,000 people ordered out and only 3,000 in shelters so far. We got some missing people out there, and to to hear that people are frolicking on the beach, Elaine's a little scary, to be quite honest about it.
And when we asked Jack Osterholt when the best time would be for people to leave, he said, 2 o'clock this afternoon. So what he's trying to say is that if you leave now, it's still not soon enough.
Yeah. Any updates on roadways or any kind of logistical problems that they're hearing about?
According to the press briefing that we just had, they say that the roads are also frighteningly rather thin traffic-wise. There is not a mad rush on the westbound lanes. The turnpike, apparently northbound, is filling up a little. Westbound 595, from what we've heard, is not appreciably higher in traffic. That has them a little bit concerned, too. Whether there will be a mad rush of traffic westbound out of this area, they don't know, and they're obviously hoping that there is not. They want people to start to just keep on leaving.
Thanks, Elaine, and we'll keep updated from Broward County and the Emergency Center, Elaine Ettore. 412 at News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. You're listening to continuous coverage of Hurricane Andrew. We'll have more news and information for you in the minutes ahead on News Talk Radio 610 WIOD.
This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. Scattered showers will continue into this evening, lows in the low 70s. For Monday, expect conditions to be cloudy, winds gusty with showers and thunderstorms. Hurricane Andrew has now grown stronger than Hugo was and is heading straight for South Florida. Hurricane warnings are now in effect for all of the southern Florida peninsula from Barrow Beach, around the Keys, and north to near Fort Myers. The Tampa Bay area remains under a hurricane watch. Latest coordinates: latitude 25.5 degrees north, longitude 75.8 degrees west, about 280 miles east of Miami. Maximum sustained winds near 150 miles an hour, still moving westerly at 16 miles an hour. It's expected to hit southern Florida in the pre-dawn hours Monday. Stay tuned for further developments here at your official hurricane information station. I'm Mike Albert in the 620 WSUN Weather Center. This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. You're listening to live coverage from WIOD as Hurricane Andrew approaches Miami on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater.
Finally, entertaining AM radio, not the same old talk. Check back in with us for Rick and Suds, weekdays from 2 to 6, here on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN.
It is 4:16 in the afternoon at News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. Is that the mayor there? We have Mayor Cy Gelber on the line back with us from Miami Beach. Mayor, thanks for joining us. How's the evacuation going in Miami Beach?
Evacuation is going slowly, not as well as we had hoped in view of the situation. The police will be going out at 5 o'clock, exhorting the people to participate in the evacuation. They will be out with bullhorns in every section of Miami Beach, advising people of the seriousness of the situation, asking them to leave their homes and go to an evacuation point, or if they do not have a place to go, that we will house them at our convention center.
Now, why has this become, in your opinion, so difficult? I would think that if you got a hold of a lot of the large condo associations and condo owners, that they would just tell their people, you've got to get out.
I think, in a sense, the large hotels and condos are moving. It's the homeowners who are reluctant, I suppose, because they sense the greater security staying in their homes rather than going to some evacuation center. We are having a reasonably good departure, but not the numbers that we should have in view of the dire predictions that are coming out of the Weather Center.
Well, you are a city of 100,000 people, and presumably every one of them is under an evacuation order. How many people do you have in your shelters right now?
Well, the shelters are not in Miami Beach. The shelters are in Miami, but we have evacuation points where buses come and pick up people and take them to the centers. We are setting up a supplementary housing point here for people who are reluctant to leave the city, and that's why we're sending the police out to notify them of the gravity of the situation.
All right, and I would imagine that with each passing hour, time is slipping by for these reluctant evacuees.
Right, we're hoping that between the hours of 5 and 7 that we will accelerate the evacuation far beyond the amount that we have had thus far.
All right, Mayor, please give us a call if there's anything else we can do, but we will mention right now that as of 5 o'clock, Miami Beach Police, will be driving up and down the streets of Miami Beach, exhorting all residents to get out because this is a serious situation, and the longer they wait, the more risk they are taking. And so far, the evacuation has been slow at best in Miami Beach.
That's kind of distressing to hear, because of all places that you want to evacuate quickly and where there are a lot of people who can't really fend for themselves, you want Miami Beach to be clear. I hope the people that are still remaining will heed the warnings coming from the police department. Get the heck off the island. Same for Key Biscayne.
If this hurricane makes land anywhere near Miami Beach, the destruction there is going to be very, very devastating.
It is, and I'll tell you what I'm also worried about, Chuck. The glass buildings in downtown Miami. There's going to be some tremendous damage, because I think, as Bob Sheets has told us many times, there are no weight-bearing partitions in those buildings. So once the glass breaks, it'll just blow all that stuff out the other side of the building. If the wind comes through, breaks a window, it'll take all those partitions, blow them out the other side of the building. We've seen pictures, all of us, of a Holiday Inn up on the coast of Carolina where there was a large honeycomb was all that was left after a hurricane. This is not child's play. This is absolute serious catastrophe coming up. And if anybody happens to be in one of those things, they're gone.
Well, you know, being that the evacuation has not gone it's gone smoothly, and now we know why, because it's going very slowly. We might at least spend 1 minute or so here to read a couple of more places in Dade County where you can catch a bus to take you to an emergency evacuation shelter. There are a number of places. Homestead City Hall, there's a bus stop there. HUD Site 105, that's Homestead Gardens on Southwest 4th. Naranja Elementary on Southwest 264th in Naranja. HUD Site number 95, that's on Southwest 139th Court. The HUD Site 108, Wayside, Biscayne Plaza, and Homestead West. We have the Florida City Homestead Neighborhood Center, Northwest 6th Court. These are places where you can catch a bus to a shelter. HUD Site 88 on Northwest 23rd Street. Liberty City Community Action Center, Northwest 7th Avenue. HUD Site number 23, that's in the 200 block of Northwest 55th Street, and the Edison Community Action Agency Center on Northwest 79th Street here in Miami and in Northwest Dade. Our Jennifer Rehm has just gone out to top off the gas tank. How long did it take?
Not long at all, Chuck. I was lucky. It took less than 5 minutes. However, people are waiting in line at the gas station I was at along US 1 and Lejeune Road here in the Gables. They're not only there to buy gasoline, they're also there to get any last-minute items. A lot of potato chips being sold, a lot of soft drinks being sold, and for the people who couldn't find any more grocery store brand bottled water, they're now going to gasoline mini-marts buying the imported stuff. So brisk business here. Driving around, there's a good deal of traffic along US 1 in this area. There are people out on the streets, out on the sidewalks, walking around, but they're not frolicking on the beach like they are in Fort Lauderdale. People are out here with a purpose. They're going into stores. They're putting up plywood on windows, and they're taking this very, very seriously.
Jennifer, thank you very much. That's Jennifer Rehm. She's headed back to the National Hurricane Center in the Gables. 422 at News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. Beth.
Chuck, wanted to reiterate an urgent call that came out from the Red Cross in Broward a short while ago. Apparently, there still is a very urgent need for trained medical personnel, and we're talking anybody with any kind of medical training, nurses, doctors, paramedics, CPR instructors, first aid instructors, even if you have pretty good working knowledge of first aid. There is an urgent need for those people to report to the shelters in Broward because they are filling up very quickly. Residents there are obviously heeding the evacuation orders, and the shelters are getting very populated, and many of those residents who are in the shelters have medical needs, and they are in desperate need of these medical volunteers to go there for the obvious support. And if you can help out in that area, please give them a call at 741-1449. Again, that's anyone in Broward with medical training who can report to a shelter to help through the duration of the storm for those who are in the shelter who need their medical attention.
All right. A couple of more closures and announcements. Boise Cascade office Productions Division closed tomorrow. City of North Miami, all non-essential employees don't report until further notice. Blue Cross Blue Shield, all Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County offices closed Monday. Driver Improvement Agency closed tomorrow. Dadeland Bank closed. Humana Hospital, Pembroke Emergency Room is closed to the public. HRS, all Dade and Broward offices closed on Monday. Douglas Entrance in Coral Gables closed today and tomorrow. Will reopen on Tuesday. Steve James, WIOD reporter out of Orlando today, has come all the way down to Miami Beach to enjoy the beach. He's on Miami Beach right now. Steve, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Tell me, where are you exactly?
I'm at the Marseille Hotel in Miami Beach, beachfront property, about 300 yards back from the water.
And what have been your impressions of encountering the residents there so far?
Well, I'll tell you, when I got into town, everything was very hectic. A lot of people packing up and shipping out. A lot of the foreign tourists that were staying in the hotels here were busy, getting themselves prepared and bussed out to the shelters, and a lot of them, I guess, heading up towards Orlando. Things are quite different now. There's barely a person on the street and hardly any cars at all in this part of town. Of course, I understand that we've had forced evacuations here, so that should be the case.
So how are you enjoying our fine city today, Steve?
Well, I guess crime is down because there's no one here to do anything like that.
Well, that's true.
Other than that, it's beautiful. The weather is holding up real well out here, and it's still sunny. The breeze is picking up. I guess a lot of people actually stayed out on the beach for a while today because the weather was so nice. They didn't want to leave, and it was so quiet for a change.
Yeah, it is deceivingly nice out there today, but we are having problems. We just talked to the mayor of Miami Beach, and we're having problems convincing people they've got to get out and evacuate as soon as they can. Keep us posted. Give us another call soon, please.
Alrighty.
All right, Steve James on Miami Beach.
Chuck, here's an interesting note that we just learned. South Florida water managers are draining hundreds of miles of canals, including the Everglades, to, of course, reduce the potential for widespread flooding from the hurricane. And the levels were drawn down actually starting yesterday. They dropped the levels between 6 inches to 1 foot in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties, but they're being lowered even further as we speak using ocean spillways, of course, in anticipation up to 8 inches of rain from the hurricane.
Yeah, that's a network of canals that was designed to ease flooding in South Florida, a network that many environmentalists still decry. I will say, Chuck, that Steve James picked a good hotel. He picked the old Marseille, which has been through many hurricanes dating way back. So if I was going to be in a hotel, I'd want to be in one of those old hotels on Miami Beach that's seen it all. The people not leaving Miami Beach remind me of a folk hero out in the Northwest who became, unfortunately, a dead folk hero, I believe, when Mount St. Helens erupted and the lava flow was coming down, and a fellow by the name of Harry Truman decided that he was not going to leave his house.
Harry just wouldn't get out of town. He was convinced that he might be able to gut it out, and he's covered with lava. But, there's some kind of... there's something in some people. They're reluctant to leave home. They're reluctant to give it up. They're afraid maybe that they won't be able to come back. They're afraid of the destruction, and they think, well, maybe I'll make it. And it's just foolish thinking. We can't be thinking about that. If you are in an evacuation zone right now, folks, you're there. You are in that zone for a reason, and that is because the studies have determined that depending on the hurricane force level, and we're talking about a hurricane hurricane, just 4 miles an hour from being Category 5, that will do massive destruction even before with its storm surge. So you must get out, and you must get out before it gets too dark or too crowded, or before there's no more power, no more phone service. And there's very little less you can do except just pack up and get yourself going.
But Chuck, you know, we've been reading all the forecasts for the hurricanes and keeping check of all that. But the National Weather Service, in conjunction with the National Hurricane Center, still does issue forecasts, regular weather forecast. And the one for Miami-Fort Lauderdale area at 4 o'clock has come out, and it says, tonight, winds increasing to hurricane force with locally heavy rains, a low in the mid to upper 70s, winds northeast increasing to 75 miles per hour or greater, rain chance near 100%. Monday, rainy with hurricane force winds decreasing during the afternoon, a high in the mid to upper 80s, hurricane force winds of 75 miles an hour or greater, decreasing to 25 to 35 miles per hour during the afternoon, rain chance near 100%. And then for Monday night and Tuesday, partly cloudy with a chance of afternoon and evening thunderstorms, a low in the mid to upper 70s, a high near 90, winds east 10 to 15 miles per hour Monday night.
All said rather matter-of-factly. With the exception of some of those numbers there, it's just another typical South Florida forecast.
Not very typical.
Except when we get into 75 to 100 mile an hour winds. Beth just talked to a fellow on the beach in Eleuthera Island a few minutes ago. It was 120 miles an hour.
He said that their instruments there are only able to record wind speeds of up to 120, and he felt that they were probably in excess of that.
So we have in this political year the margin of error on clocking 3% winds. This is scary.
I get the sense from talking to some of the folks who are calling in inquiring as to when they should be leaving the evacuation areas that they're almost waiting for a sign of bad weather. It is rather calm, almost eerily, so if you poke your head out the window, there's not a whole lot of wind right now, and it's very sunny. And I think, again, people are very deceived by that. They're almost waiting to see the wind pick up or the rains to start before they get serious about leaving, and I think that's not a good idea.
Henry, do you want to add something? We'll go to Robert in about 30 seconds.
It might be a good idea. This is a good time to get some sleep because you might not be able to get any during the late night, early morning hours, so it might not hurt to take a nap right now.
There's an idea that all news people subscribe to. No question about it. It is 4:30 at News Talk Radio 610 WIOD, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches. This is the WIOD News Center on the air with continuous coverage of Hurricane Andrew. Now to the Emergency Center and Robert Pankow.
Chuck, we've just now getting underway here, our 4:30 update here at the Emergency Management Center with County spokesperson Virginia Sanchez.
County. At this time, County Manager Joaquin Avino is urging all residents to please complete all their hurricane preparations. There's not much time left in terms of daylight time, so we are encouraging everyone to finish their preparations within the next 2.5 to 3 hours. Again, those residents who are looking to use public transportation, we encourage you to do that shortly or as soon as possible. Our buses stop running when winds reach about 45 miles per hour. We're also asking residents to please try and conserve water. There have been some areas where we have experienced a drop in our water table. We have a lot of people who are stacking up on water more than really is necessary or more than they should. And Water and Sewer Department is urging please to use discretion and to only store as much water as is really necessary. Some of our shelters are becoming full at this point, especially some in North Miami Beach High, for instance, is almost full to capacity. Those people who are going to head toward that area should perhaps look at other alternatives. And at this point, basically conclude all their preparation by now.
But nobody will be turned away, correct?
Absolutely. No one will be turned away. Again, we just don't want to be in a position where there will be such crowded conditions where we'll be and bottles at home and so forth, where high demand we have experienced a drop in our water table.
What does that mean? What are you asking people to do, to hold off until later?
No, just to really try and conserve water and to use it wisely if indeed they're not already have stored bottled water, indeed are storing tap water, to do it in a logical fashion where they're not doing more than they really need to do. I believe that, and I don't have all the information on that, but I believe that indeed they have been informed and called upon Governor Charles to be on standby at this point, and are pretty much waiting for instructions in case, if and after, the hurricane hits.
But during the storm they will be needed.
Well, during the storm, we just, it's really in the aftermath that we're looking and we'll be assessing the damage and see what it is that they can do. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Chuck, now that concludes our 4:30 update here at the Emergency Operations Center. Now we understand there's going to be, I believe, a hurricane update at 5 o'clock, and depending on what's in that update, that could radically change some of the information coming out of here. We'll have more for you at the 5:30 update live from the Emergency Operations Center.
Robert, thank you very much. Yes, naturally, in the next 25 minutes, probably even less than that, we're looking forward to getting the latest coordinates and statement on Hurricane Andrew. The news has been pretty bad progressively throughout the day. It hasn't changed course. It's intensifying. And we could use some good news, although I just don't think there's anything that's going to happen to it between now and late tonight, early tomorrow morning, that will alter the fact that we are in for a body blow from this incredible hurricane on the way. Victoria Hospital evacuating all patients. The patients are being moved to Cedars Hospital and Deering Hospital. All the patients should be moved by 10 o'clock. The hospital will be closed through the duration of any hurricane situation. Again, that is Victoria Hospital.
North Miami Beach Senior High, which is an emergency shelter, I was just told has been filled to capacity. There is about 2,000 people there now, and they're about to lock the doors. So if you are in search of an evacuation shelter, do not go to North Miami Beach Senior High. They can suggest other places like Hialeah or Carroll City High, but not North Miami Beach Senior High at this point.
And that's complicated a little bit by the fact that there were 2 shelters established earlier today in North Miami, and one of them never materialized as a shelter, so they were down to 1 shelter and suggested North Miami Beach as an alternative, and now North Miami Beach Senior High is filled to capacity and about to hang out the no vacancy sign for tonight, interestingly enough.
Indeed, I think in talking to the people who are running that particular area, Chuck, just within the last hour or so, they saw most of those people head down there, which means people are really getting down to business and getting their needs taken care of.
Yes, the message is starting to get across, and I would imagine that in the next 20 minutes or less, when we get the latest on the hurricane from the Hurricane Center, this will be added incentive for a number of people who've been kind of sitting around, perhaps deceived or lulled by what is a rather lovely day outside into thinking, oh, it's not going to happen.
I was just on a talk show in Houston when the first question they asked me was, what's it like outside? And I said, beautiful. Houston's a little bit worried, too. What happens if this crosses the peninsula and gets out into the open Gulf of Mexico? Because it's not expected to lose any strength as it crosses the Everglades and gets to the west coast of Florida. That from the latest advisory. It could create havoc in a number of areas, but what we're worried about right now, most of all, is first the Bahamas and how they come through it, and then what it's going to do to us.
One of the things it'll do to us is send a lot of debris and needless missiles through the air, and the very first advisory from the Dade Emergency Center last night, even before they were really up and running, was that the Dade County Building and Zoning Department urged every contractor in the county to immediately clear their work sites of debris and secure all construction materials. All loose objects had to be secured or removed from construction sites, and as the evacuation that we have mentioned is a trickle in many areas, unfortunately, hopefully picks up a little bit. Molly, what's the latest on the...
This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. Scattered showers will continue into this evening. Lows in the low 70s. For Monday, Monday, expect conditions to be cloudy, winds gusty with showers and thunderstorms. Hurricane Andrew has now grown stronger than Hugo was and is heading straight for South Florida. Hurricane warnings are now in effect for all of the southern Florida peninsula from Vero Beach, around the Keys, and north to near Fort Myers. The Tampa Bay area remains under a hurricane watch. Latest coordinates: latitude 25.5 degrees north, longitude 75.8 degrees west, about 280 miles east of Miami. Maximum sustained winds near 150 miles an hour, still moving westerly at 16 miles an hour. It's expected to hit southern Florida in the pre-dawn hours Monday. Stay tuned for further developments here at your official hurricane information station. I'm Mike Albert in the 620 WSUN Weather Center. This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620.
Pankow at the Emergency Preparedness Center. Robert?
Henry, with me is Mike Carroll, director of Dade County's Red Cross office. He has an important message for our listeners regarding the critical need for volunteers.
Sure do. We're going to need we need help tonight, and we're going to need help through the duration of this operation. You can call 324-2500 or go to our headquarters, which is at 1675 Northwest 17th Avenue. If you have been a Red Cross volunteer in the past and have training, this is it. We need you, and we need for you to go to your assignment. If you haven't been trained, we can give you an assignment and give you training in short order.
What kind of people do you need, Mike?
Well, we need competent people who care about their community. The critical need, obviously, right now is for people that can go in and take care of folks in shelters. And in shelters, you're going to be doing things like feeding and billeting and managing and taking care of crowd control and paying particular attention to the elderly, which is a big part of this evacuation. So I need people that are smart and compassionate, and we can work with that.
Any particular need, Mike, for paramedics or people who are trained in the medical professions?
Mike, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Do you need any paramedics, anybody like that at those centers? Medical people with medical training?
Well, frankly, I think that's being handled in another way. I mean, we have health facilities. Certainly somebody with those types of skills can be very useful in shelters. The county manages special needs modules in some of these shelters, and they may need medical personnel. Anybody that's competent in that area, I'm sure they'd be more than useful in a shelter.
Okay, Mike, everybody heard that those things that are needed, and we hope you comply with those because the Red Cross needs your help, and you know where to go and what to do. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are wondering, what can I do? There's one thing you can do right now is to go out and give the Red Cross a hand. We are bringing you continuous coverage of Hurricane Andrew as it approaches South Florida. It is now buffeting Eleuthera in the Bahamas. Won't be long before it gets to New Providence and Nassau in the Bahamas. Beth Adams has talked to some people down in that area, and they say it's getting rough, don't they, Beth?
Oh, indeed. In fact, it's been quite a while, Henry. I believe it's been better part of an hour since we last spoke to someone down there, and at that time, they described the winds as being in excess of 120 miles an hour. And believe me, I know that they said parts of the Bahamas were not taking this seriously. I think they have little choice in the matter at this point. They're truly getting nailed with this storm.
I think that Mike Ranieri needs to sing his song from the mornings, Mama No Want No Hurricanes Coming Around Here.
If he can do it, more power to him.
Sing it loud, Mikey. We have some a little 5 o'clock update here, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from Jennifer Rehm soon. But Chuck, you want to run down this update?
This is the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Ranieri may actually add a couple of bars to the song after hearing this one. Extremely dangerous Hurricane Andrew bearing down on southeast Florida. Hurricane warnings remain in effect for the central and northwest Bahamas, the Florida East Coast from Vero Beach southward through the Keys to the Dry Tortugas, the Florida West Coast south of Venice, and for Lake Okeechobee. A hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning are in effect for the Florida East Coast from Vero northward to Titusville, and on the Florida West Coast north of Venice to Bayport. All precautions to protect life and property, including evacuations ordered by the emergency management officials, should be rushed to completion. Here's the center of Andrew. It's located near 25.4 north latitude, longitude 76.5 west, at places at 240 miles east of Miami. Andrew is moving toward the west near 16 miles an hour. This motion expected to continue for the next 24 hours. Hurricane conditions are spreading over the northwest and central Bahamas at the present time. Hopetown on, is that Great Abaco Island, Henry? I think it's Abaco Island.
It's Abaco.
Reported winds to 60 miles an hour during the past hour. On the present course, tropical storm force winds should begin on the southeast Florida coast after midnight, with hurricane conditions expected in the pre-dawn hours. This is a dangerous Category 4 hurricane, maximum sustained winds near 150 miles an hour in a small area near the center. Some fluctuations in strength are likely before landfall. Hurricane force winds extend outward to up to 30 miles from the center, and the tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 105 miles. We'll get to the storm surge. Well, we should do that one in just a second. Jennifer standing by for an update. Storm surge flooding of 10 to 14 feet above normal tides are possible for some locations in the northwest Bahamas, with up to 18 feet possible for the northwest side of Eleuthera Island. Storm surges of 7 to 10 feet above normal tides are possible for the Florida East Coast and Keys, near to where the center makes landfall in southeast Florida, with possible heights of 9 to 13 feet in Biscayne Bay. Storm surges of 7 to 11 feet are possible on the Florida west coast, near and to the south of the center after the passage of the hurricane. Rainfall amounts of 5 to 10 inches are expected along the path of the hurricane. That is the very latest. If you are tracking the hurricane, it is now officially at 25.4 north latitude, 76.5 west longitude. Let's get some numbers. I believe Jennifer is on 4,500 with us right now. I'm sorry, let me bring her up this way. Jennifer, we just had the complete readout on it. What's the reaction and what's the advisory from the National Hurricane Center right now as far as what they may have expected the hurricane to be doing at this time?
Well, Chuck, we've watched Andrew progress throughout the day. Forecasters are now calling him an extremely dangerous hurricane. He's bearing down on southeast Florida. You just gave the coordinates. He's moving toward the west near 16 miles per hour, and this motion is expected to continue for the next 24 hours. As I mentioned earlier, when I spoke to Dr. Sheets, he did not anticipate that Andrew would grow in size and strength the way he has, and I think they are surprised by the strength of this storm. And what he said earlier was, if Andrew hits the southeast coast of Florida with the strength he currently has, this could just be unprecedented as far as an East Coast storm. It has never happened, except for back in 1935 when a storm hit the Florida Keys. But this is quite a strong storm. The mood is very serious here, and we're just waiting to see what happens next.
Jennifer, as you stay on the line, I like Henry's reaction to this because, you know, with some of the new numbers, there's no let-up. There doesn't appear to be any last-minute veer here. We're taking this thing full brunt, and at 150 miles an hour, it's more than I think anybody ever guessed from the very beginning.
It is to me, Chuck. I've never seen anything like this. Obviously, the last one this size came a year before I was born. The only thing I find at all hopeful in this is that 150-mile-an-hour wind is in a small area near the center, and some fluctuations in strength are likely before landfall. That's not at all consoling because those fluctuations can be either up or down. But where the center comes is going to determine where the big damage is. Everything from the center north is going to get the heavy part of the storm, and from the center south is going to get bad damage, but not as bad as what comes north of it.
It loans credence to some of this pessimism we've heard during the day in Broward County from the people there, figuring anything in North Dade or the middle of Dade means that Broward, the seashore in Broward anyway, will be hit with the brunt. So there's good reason to be pessimistic about it, no matter where you are along the coast, because there's just no escaping this thing.
No, there isn't. And one thing that occurs to me is all of this great beach regeneration that's gone on over the last few years may have been for naught. It may be washed away, depending upon the surge that comes ashore. We may have no beach.
As a matter of fact, Jennifer, thank you for being with us, and join us again in the coming half hour if you can, with anything new from the Gables. This gives us a good opportunity to bring you conversation the WIOD's Kevin Courtney has had with John Wang, a beach erosion expert at the University of Miami, asking the very question, how much damage can Hurricane Andrew do to South Florida beaches?
Seeing the winds that Hurricane Andrew has, what kind of damage can we expect to our beaches?
Well, these are very substantial winds, over 100 miles per hour, and they will most certainly bring a surge and very large waves with them. So you can expect both flooding and damage from blowing objects.
What kind of advice would you have for anyone who would think that they would like to stay on the beach and ignore the evacuation orders?
Well, you do have a mandatory evacuation order, and my advice is for everybody to get out as soon as possible.
We've seen the beaches. We know what the beaches look like. What will they look like after if we take the full brunt of Andrew?
That's one of the hardest things to predict, but it's very likely that you will get a lot of erosion, and at some other places you may get accumulation of sand. So I expect to see in some places the beach will disappear, whereas at other places, perhaps in inlets and things, you will get a lot of accumulation of sand.
What about Miami Beach, for example? What would the streets look like? Or is that your area of expertise? If we really took the full brunt, how deep would the water get on the streets?
With the size of hurricane we have now, you can easily get 10 foot of water there. So it definitely could get flooded very badly.
Okay, again, so your advice is get out as soon as possible, and we should expect a lot of damage to the beaches. Anything else that you think that listeners should know about?
Well, follow the advisories that are put out all the time, and try to get out as soon as possible.
Okay, John Wang, professor of applied marine physics at the University of Miami. Thank you for joining us.
It is 4:56 at News Talk Radio 610 WIOD. A couple of other quick notes. All Coral Gables federal offices in South Florida will be closed on Monday. We just had word from the U.S. Attorney's Office. All employees off tomorrow. All non-essential U.S. Coast Guard personnel normally assigned to the Brickell Avenue Federal Building should not report to work tomorrow. They should try to remain in contact with their supervisors for future information. This is non-stop, continuous coverage of Hurricane Andrew on News Talk Radio 610 WIOD, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches, and also on WSUN in Tampa. Keep in mind that in 2 hours at 7 o'clock, we'll also be simulcasting on our FM station here in South Florida, Coast 97.3 FM, so you'll be able to hear us on AM and FM as you monitor Andrew and continue to stay with us throughout the night. We'll take a break here. We'll be back in the minutes ahead. It's Chuck Myer with Beth Adams, Henry Barrow, Jennifer Rehm. I want to give everybody credit this hour. Robert Pankow, Elaine Ettore, Dan Stewart, Kevin Courtney in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches, and on WSUN in Tampa. In 2 hours, we'll also be broadcasting on WFLC, Coast 97.3 on your FM dial here in South Florida to help keep getting the information out. Along with Beth Adams, Dan Stewart, Henry Barrow, Andy Kalb, and our people in the field, including Elaine Ettore, Robert Pankow, Jennifer Rehm, Catherine Lister, and the soon-to-return home to South Florida just in time for the Hurricane Bob Soper. Here's the latest on the dangerous Hurricane Andrew. 5 o'clock readings, 25.4 north latitude, 76.5 west longitude. That puts it 240 miles east of Miami. Hasn't changed a lot, except it got a little stronger. Now packing winds of 150 miles per hour. The storm itself moving to the west at about 16 miles per hour. This will continue for at least the next 24 hours. What this means is it is headed towards South Florida in an area somewhere between Vero Beach and the Keys, and is likely to make land sometime in the pre-dawn hours of tomorrow morning. So we're talking, maybe 11, 12 hours at the very most from now. We have a lot of updated information. One of the things that we've been finding out in the last hour or so is that the evacuation, while going smoothly, is going very slowly here in South Florida. Many areas, especially in Broward, report few people showing up at evacuation centers or shelters, despite an earlier order today to evacuate. We have 430,000 people in Broward under an evacuation order, and 3,000 of them, as of an hour ago, in
This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. You're listening to live coverage from WIOD as Hurricane Andrew approaches Miami on News Talk Radio 620 WSUN, St. Petersburg, Tampa, Clearwater. This is Mike Albert in the News Talk Radio 620 WSUN Weather Center. Scattered showers will continue well into this evening, lows in the low 70s. For Monday
station in Miami, we have temporarily lost satellite feed from Miami and will rejoin that program as soon as we are able to. In the meantime, please enjoy Off the Wall with David Paul from our sister station.
Coming low tide. Yes, it's actually 150 mile per hour winds. The last recon came in with essentially the same pressure that we had before that, and so we're looking at a sustained 150 mile per hour winds. It could be up and down maybe 10 or 20 miles per hour, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that.
Any concerns about the Hurricane Center staying on the air and staying able to get the information out?
Very much so, and we're doing everything we can to prepare for that. We have prepared for that in the past. We bought the shutters and things like that here for our building on this particular floor. We've also sent a portion of our staff to Washington, D.C., where they operate out of the National Meteorological Center in case we lose communications here. We hope that the building's well built.
Okay,
that is Bob Sheets of the National Hurricane Center. Of course, some ominous predictions about what Hurricane Andrew could mean for South Florida. Again, he said the fact that it's high tide around 5 o'clock in the morning when the hurricane could possibly hit isn't, of course, it's not going to make the situation any better, but unlike New England, where high tide is very high, in this case, it may only add to the problem slightly. We head over to Broward County now. Sergeant Mel Lang is on the line from the Broward Emergency Center. Yes, Sergeant, what can you tell us?
Yeah, we've been receiving information that people are using 911 to request information concerning the hurricane. The number that people need to call is 357-8485. 357-8485. 911 are just for emergency response right now. Information about the hurricane, we need to get it out at 357-8485. If you dial 911, you're just tying up the emergency lines for someone who really needs assistance.
All in all, Sergeant, quickly, how are things in Broward County? How are things progressing?
As well as can be expected right now. The traffic patterns seem to be flowing. People seem to be moving to the north, and hopefully we'll get our shelters moved up. We've got some disappointing numbers. Probably within the next couple of hours, people will finally realize that they have to get out of their mobile homes and they have to leave the beaches, have to get to shelters.
In fact, we have already heard about shelters here and there that are starting to fill up, some of them, so now is definitely the time to get out.
Yeah, I think that's, if you're in a mobile home and are thinking about writing it out, that's not the place to do it.
All right, Sergeant Mel Lang of the Broward Sheriff's Department, a very important message. Do not call 911 if you have any questions about the storm for its purpose, and that is emergencies. And there are no doubt going to be a number of reasons for people to legitimately have to call 911. So you are to call 357-8485 with any questions in the hurricane and in Broward County. Very important to keep 911 open for emergencies.
And Beth, I can't believe that people still are in mobile homes anywhere.
It's inconceivable to me, Henry, and boy, I can't imagine why anyone would be just downright foolish enough to take their life in their hands like that.
There always will be people, and by the way, this is 610 WIOD, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and the Palm Beaches, and also on WSUN in Tampa. There's always some people who are going to say, you can't get me out of my home, you can't make me leave, and won't do it. And some of those people will be in the obituary columns tomorrow, the day after.
Unfortunately, all we can do is warn them to the best of our ability, and I think we've said in every possible way how serious this is and what ramifications this poses. So we can say no more.
Dan?
Henry, we've got a complete rundown of the shelters that are open and operating throughout Dade County, and they are as follows. There are plenty of them. Now, some shelters in Dade County are full, such as the North Miami Beach Senior High School. They were full as of about 5 o'clock this afternoon. The Greek Orthodox Church, I am told at last check from Red Cross officials that they are at full capacity at the moment. Miami Coral Park High School at 8865 Southwest 16th Street is still open and operating. M.L. King Elementary School at 7124 Northwest 12th Avenue is open, and they still have room for you there. University Lakes Recreation Hall at 12840 Southwest 14th Street is open for you. Sunset Park Elementary School is pretty much up to full capacity at this point, but their doors are still open at 10235 Southwest 84th Street. The Citrus Grove Middle School at 2153 Northwest 3rd Street is open, and Miami Edison High School at 6161 Northwest 5th Court is still open. Jose Marti Middle School at 5710 West 24th Ave is open now. Hialeah Miami Lakes High at 7977 West 12th Avenue. Miami Lakes Middle School at 2530 West 10th Avenue. Again, these are all shelters that are open and operating in Dade County, still taking people in. Bright James Elementary School at 2530 West 10th Avenue.